Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. As usual, I'd like to start with our risk disclaimer. With all our videos, I'd like to remind you that any examples I talk about in any of these videos should be considered as hypothetical. The trades weren't taken, we don't do that in these videos. Also to remind you that there's risk of loss in all trading and investing. Losses can and will and do happen. Every trader and investor should know and understand that. The trick is keeping the losses small, but there is always a risk of loss in trading and investing. All trade decisions are your own sole responsibility. Right, let's have a look at some longer term charts in today's MTPredictor video. I don't tend to do this very often, but I think the markets, in particular the US markets, are coming to a very interesting position, particularly on the lead up into the election next week. Today is Friday the 4th of November. So let's look at a day chart of the December ES. What we've been talking about in our MTPredictor training webinars over the last week is, as the market has been dropping off here, we've been looking at our DP support zone from this last pivot. If I place that on there. Now we had this on the chart before the market got down there in our training, regular training webinars, but I want to update the wider community like yourselves today, because what's happening here is, can you see how the market is now at our DP support zone? Now this is very interesting because will this decision point zone support zone hold? That is the question that we are asking at the moment. The reason I'm slightly concerned is that if it doesn't, the next pivot low is back here. So if we place the DP off this pivot low, this is the next support zone. So you can see there could be a very nice or nasty, depending on which way you're looking at it, drop coming through here. So this is what I was looking at in our training webinar for customers, is that if we have a failure of this support zone here, and that normally constitutes 2 consecutive closes below the low, then we could very well carry on down into this next low here. And obviously this is very important, as we could have a major event coming up in the next week or so with the US elections that could move the market significantly. So we're at a major support zone on the ES. Let's have a look at some other markets. Let's have a look at the NQ, again on a daily chart. Interesting here, if we place our DP off this last pivot, notice how the market went up and actually tagged the pivot high there back on, that day was the 25th of October. So we actually caught that high very nicely with our DP resistance zone. The market has now gone through this DP here. You can see we've gone through it yesterday, and just take that off, and it looks like we may be making a consecutive close here. If that's the case, well then our next support zone is just below it here, and as I highlighted with the ES, if we then get a close or go through this support zone, then the next one is way down here. Let's have a look at the YM. YM is interesting as well, as we had an automatic DP sell at the high there. Market has been chopping sideways here quite a lot, and if I place a DP off this level, you can see we haven't quite reached this DP support zone here, so it'll be interesting to see whether we reach this in the next day or so. But as I said with the ES, if we do reach this support zone and we go through it, then the next support zone is right the way down here. So this is why I'm doing this video today, is basically to highlight the position of the US markets, in particular the ES. In particular the ES, the way we're at a potential support zone here, but my concern is if we breach this, and that's normally by 2 consecutive closes, then there's a potential for a large fall after that. I think that's particularly relevant as we're going into the next week here with the US elections early next week. I think it's on Tuesday next week, and that could be a big market mover. So stay alert and stay careful as always. It's important to keep those initial risks small and under control, and obviously if you're looking to trade just before a major news event like the election, it's probably better not trading that. It's probably better avoiding that, because the most important thing in trading is controlling your risk. So if there's something that could do a big shock in the market, it's better standing aside and waiting until that's out of the way. So let's see how the next week evolves and see whether this support zone holds and whether we do get a big fall after that, or whether we can actually get a rally off this level here.